Life Coach Tony Robbins. Today we're talking about his new book. It's called Money, Master the Game. He's here inspiring all of us to find that financial freedom that seems to elude so many of us. All right, so I confessed earlier. We're so happy that you're here. I've read your books, did The Firewalker. It's such an inspiration to me, and I'm like, when's he going to write another book? What's this been, almost 2 decades?
20 years. I've had a few day jobs.
Yeah, what kept you so long?
I'm about every 4 days, I'm literally on a plane. I go to 15 different countries. I see 250,000 people a year in live events, and I love the raw, real, in-the-moment changes.
Yeah.
But I decided to write a book because in 2008, when you saw people losing their homes en masse, when I saw people losing half of what they'd earned, and I knew it was based on manipulation, it made me crazy because I grew up really poor. I grew up with nothing, no money for food at Thanksgiving, literally. So it wasn't statistics for me, it was human beings, and I wanted to do something. So 2 years after that, when I thought nothing had changed with the government, I thought, I have a unique gift. I've been coaching one of the top 10 financial traders in the world for 21 straight years. I've been with him every day, and he's not lost money for 21 straight years. No one else on the planet's done that. His name is Paul Tudor Jones. And I thought if I took what I've learned from Paul, and then I interviewed, because I have access to 50 of the smartest financial people in the world, people that literally started with nothing, like you and I.
Like who, yeah.
Anybody from a guy named Ray Dalio, which people won't know his name, but he's probably the most influential guy in the world. Warren Buffett, one of the most influential people most people do know. But I went from self-made billionaires to Nobel laureates, and then I thought if I could simplify that into a system where I could help a mom, I could help a baby boomer to really retire and be comfortable and be safe, or I could help a kid getting out of college to get rid of that debt and really achieve financial future, it'd be awesome. So it took me 4 years, and now it's come out this week. It's already #1, so it's really being received really well, which I'm grateful for.
Well, tell us, what is the #1 mistake that people make with money?
I think the biggest one is we don't begin because we say, I have no money. And it's true, because most of us spend most of what we have. Even when people earn more, they still tend to spend more than they have. But it's an illusion, because the people who make a lot of money, most of them don't keep it. You all know what happens to the lottery winner 5 or 10 years later.
Right.
Or the great athletes we've seen that lose it all. So the most successful people, Warren Buffett, you say, what made you the richest man in the world? He says 3 things. He said, living in America, the opportunity is there for everybody. He said, good genes, so I lived long enough to do well. And he said, compound interest. And we all know about compound interest, but I'll give you an example of how it really works. There's a man named Theodore Johnson. He worked for UPS as a driver. He never made more, check this out, than $14,000 in a year. That's the maximum he ever earned. But in his late 70s, he's worth $70 million.
No, how does that happen? Wait a minute.
Let me tell you, it's a real story. It's a real true story. All he did was, he said, I have no money, which he was right. $14,000, you don't have any money.
Yeah.
But a friend of his said, if the government came in and taxed you, you would hate it, but it would still be paid because it would be taken right out of your check. So he said, I'm going to create a tax that's going to give you financial freedom. I'm going to take 20% of your money, and we're going to put it in this investment account, and you're never going to see it. Well, over 50 years, it compounded to $70 million. And while he was alive, he gave away $35 million. So what I show people is, here's how you take a little and actually really make it work. But most of us are consumers. You shouldn't have an Apple phone unless you also own Apple, or better than just Apple, the best companies in the world at the lowest price, not these mutual funds that eat up people's futures.
And most of them have financial advisors, too. I mean, is that something that you say that you shouldn't really get involved with?
No, you have to know what kind. I want to teach your audience an F word right now.
Okay, all right.
It's called fiduciary. It's a mouth word, fiduciary. Most people, when they're a wealth advisor, they all have integrity. They all care about you. But most of them are really a broker. There's 325 terms for a broker, a wealth manager, et cetera. The problem is they sell you what they're trained to sell you. They might even put their own money there. It's not that they're not sincere. If you go to a butcher and you say, what should I have tonight? He's going to sell you some form of meat. But if you go to a dietitian, he's going to say, hey, hold it. I got to take care of you. Hold off on the red meat. You're going to get cancer. You're going to get heart disease. Let's have some chicken. Let's have some salad. Let's have some fish.
Yeah.
So a financial advisor called a fiduciary, which I explain how to do in the book, is someone who is literally required by law to put your interests first. So if they said to you, buy Apple today, and then they buy it later, cheaper in the day, they have to give you their stock. That's how rigid it is. And there's a small number of people, they're called registered investment advisors or fiduciaries, and I show people how to access them.
Okay, you're talking to a guy who still has a piggy bank, okay?
Yes.
So if I open your book and am I going to get lost with some of the big terminology?
Well, fiduciary is probably the biggest word you'll ever hear. I understand this. We got that one out of the way.
Okay.
So, and I'm basically just going to save more than I spend? Is that?
No. You got to know where to put it.
Okay.
So 2 things. First, you got to know where not to put it, because this is a business where what you don't know will hurt you. And the financial industry tends to make things much more complex, because the more complex it is, the more you just give up and give me your money, and then I can charge you all these fees, you don't even know it.
Right.
So most people in America put their money in a mutual fund. So 96% of mutual funds fail to match the market, fail. What that means is only 4% succeed. what are your chances of picking the right mutual fund? Do you play blackjack, either of you?
No, I can't add that fast.
And again, I got a piggy bank.
The goal of blackjack is you go to 21, but if you go over, you lose. So if you got two face cards worth 20, there's only one card that you can get, and that's an ace. So you're going to take, if your entity that says hit me, you got an 8% chance of winning. You have a 4% chance of getting the right mutual fund. So what I show people is you want to own the index. The index is really, it's a big term, but all it means is you get a piece of all the biggest companies in the world, but instead of being charged 3% plus, which is what the average mutual fund is, you're charged less than 0.2%. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of numbers, but let me make it real for you. If I said to the two of you, here's our deal. I want you to make an investment, and I want you to put up all the money. You take all the risk. I'll put up no money. I'll take no risk. If you lose, I win. And if you win, I take 60% of your profit over your lifetime.
Going in on that.
I don't like that
That's 90% of active mutual funds, because at 3%, that's what it is. It's like if you found out your friend bought a Honda Accord for $20,000, you paid $350,000, you'd go crazy.
Yeah.
That's the difference between 0.2% and 3% plus in a mutual fund. And so that's the difference. But people don't know it, and they don't know it's eating up their financial future. So in the book, I also show you where to put it instead of that. But first, you got to know where not to put it.
Okay, can we address something? Because and I want to go back to the grassroots for me and what you represent in my life on a personal level, and that is the inspiration behind it. How do you take 20% away from $14,000 a year and not be griping every day going, I have
How do you live?
Because it's the most important decision you're going to make. Once you make it, you'll never see it again. I mean, some people will go through a divorce. It's a pretty difficult thing for both sides. And there's that money that's got to be paid. And you just never see it again. And the person adjusts. But you don't have to do 20%. In fact, what I did is I interviewed some of the greatest financial geniuses, the people that are behavioral experts, economists, and they figure out, why do we so bad with money and what do we do instead? And one of the tools they came up with is called Save More for Tomorrow. Because everybody can go on a diet tomorrow. Everybody can save tomorrow. Today is the hard day, right? How am I going to put the money aside? So they created this theory where if you save 3%, anybody can save 3.5%. They did that with people in the Midwest. And then they said, look, we're going to go to your boss, and every time you get a raise, the first 3% is going to go in this account. You'll never see it. So if you had a 10% raise, you're going to see 7%. But you're not going to see more than that. Well, those people within 10 years are saving on average 14%, and 65% were saving 20%. Now, you get to those numbers, you're going to get wealthy.
Wow.
But this gentleman didn't touch his money till he was in his 70s.
No, he grew. He touched some of it. It just grew even more. He had a nice lifestyle along the way, but he didn't touch it till he retired.